Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean on boxing and Lily, who's sleeping. So yesterday we got to see Deontay Wilder in his comeback fight against, a guy we'd never heard of before. So obviously, on the outside looking in, we assumed it was going to be a dominant knockout performance from Wilder against a cherry-picked opponent, which is exactly what it was meant to be. Um, Wilder went out there and didn't look bad. He threw a lot of jabs, he let his hands go. He was more active than normal, but of course, that is to be expected. He was in with a very limited fighter. So, of course, he's going to feel not much risk because nothing was coming back at him, so he would be thus more aggressive. But even though he was more aggressive, he was still unable to land anything significant to get that guy out of there. The ref ended up stopping the fight in the seventh round, which really came out of nowhere. It seemed very premature and pointless. It would have made more sense to let Wilder go in there and literally get a knockout, right? Which obviously would have been good for his career and good for his mental sort of situation as well. Based on two losses back to back and then two knockout losses, obviously to Tyson Fury as well. So obviously mentally this guy is a little fragile right now and needs an opportunity to sort of build his confidence. He got some rounds in, so at the end of the day, I guess that's a positive. But the biggest problem with him is at this point, his legs look more like Tommy Hearns than they do Sugar Ray Leonard, right? And that's not a good thing for an older fighter, having stiff legs, not balanced, and because of that, it's not easy to land power shots because your balance is just not that great. So it begs the question, who do you want to see Wilder in with next? Obviously, I just saw this clip on social media, which you can see here, where they're talking about potentially AJ, which of course the LWC and 78 Sports TV and them, they're really pushing for that. But at this point, is that really a fight that people want to see? I mean, AJ didn't look great in his fight with Dubois, has had surgery and been inactive since then. Wilder looked mediocre against a shit opponent. So now you want to make this fight? I understand potentially for Wilder, it's a big payday. But for boxing fans, is it really something that is significant right now at this time? For AJ, obviously the more significant fight would be an all UK fight with him and Tyson Fury. That would be huge in the UK in itself, right? You got a whole market where people are going to be all over that. You're going to be able to do Wembley, do pay-per-view numbers, obviously even get funded by Turki Al-Sheikh. Whereas Wilder versus AJ, where are you going to do it? You're going to do it in the States? Yeah, okay. You're going to do it in England? Okay. You're going to do it in Saudi? Okay. I mean, it's a fight you can do, but I don't think it's nearly as relevant as Fury AJ is right now. Then they had, of course, the other UK fighter who just fought the other day as well. Sorry, his name escapes me. White boy. What do they call him? White Rhino or something. I thought he looked pretty out of shape in his last fight, but he ended up getting his knockout victory, which was a pleasant surprise for UK fans who obviously still support him. He's being talked about as a potential opponent for Wilder, and the problem with him is, outside of the UK, he's not really marketable. If you were going to bring Wilder to the UK and have him fight that guy, okay, you could do the O2 Arena. That'll do good numbers. It's a fight that obviously would get people to watch it. But outside of the UK, nobody would be interested. Nobody knows who that fucking guy is. Then another fight that was listed was, of course, Andy Ruiz, which I talked about yesterday as being obviously a good fight you could do in the US. Andy Ruiz, ex-world champion, Wilder, ex-world champion, Black versus Mexico. Like you put that fight in Vegas, potentially you could do good numbers. You could get the two fan bases together, and hopefully that would be synergetic and would create something bigger. Hopefully. And for both Ruiz and Wilder, potentially it helps them both collect another big payday. Another option that was on the table was obviously the winner between the two big babies, which are going to apparently be fighting soon. Obviously, the winner of that would be potentially a good opponent for Wilder as well. And while all these have their ups and have their downs, I don't think any of them are potentially the best fights that you could potentially make for Deontay Wilder. During my live today, when we were watching the Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez fight, that popped up the idea that maybe the idea to do a fight would be Wilder versus Jake Paul. And when I said it, something dinged in my head. I'm like, hold on for a sec. Like, let's think about that. Jake Paul versus Deontay Wilder. Jake Paul versus Deontay Wilder. I mean, that's a fight that would get tons of attention in the US market. Potentially, you could even do it on Netflix, because obviously we've seen big fights with Jake Paul on Netflix before against Mike Tyson. Obviously, Wilder is not Mike Tyson, but unlike Mike Tyson, Wilder is not an old man. He's a fighter that, still might have some life left in him. You think about, you have the same demographic situation, Caucasian fans versus Black American fans. In America, race is a predominant issue for some reason. So that's a marketing ploy they can definitely use. And think about the fact that Jake Paul really right now is the face of American boxing, right? What he does generates money and boxing events in the US. Obviously, he's the guy that sort of saved women's boxing. Thanks to him, Serrano and Taylor getting $10 million a fight. I mean, that shit's unreal. And they have an all-woman card coming up soon. An all-woman card. On the outside looking in, a lot of casual fans would be like, whatever, I'm not interested. But let me tell you, for somebody who's a boxing fan, but not generally a female boxing fan, it's a great card. There are 8 top 10 caliber pound-for-pound fighters on that card. Clarissa Shields should be on it, and then there'd be 9. But unfortunately, she doesn't want to play ball, and so she's going to be on the outside looking in, shitting on all those girls and criticizing them and finding reasons to make everything about herself. But she was offered an opportunity to be on the card. She walked away from it, and unfortunately for her, that's going to be a big loss, because really she's got nothing going that anyone's fucking interested in at all. So think about that. Let me just say it out loud and just have you try to think about how that would play out, or just the marketing and the build-up for it. Jake Paul versus Deontay Wilder. Like, Jake Paul just came into the ring easily over 210 pounds in that Julio Cesar Chavez fight. He also fought Mike Tyson. I think he was obviously over 210 in that fight as well. Wilder just came in at 225, but his more comfortable weight is probably around 218. So if you made like a 215 pound catch weight for those guys, potentially that would be a fantastic weight. And think about it. Wilder was a legitimate world champion, has serious knockout power. He's obviously the bigger man at 6'6", with an 83-inch reach. So, some long reach to his advantage. And then you got Jake Paul, who's like about 6'2", 6'3" at max. I think he's under 6'3". His reach is pretty good. He fights behind a long jab. He has good feet. He controls distance fairly well. Obviously, in this fight, he's going to be the younger fighter with better foot movement, right? He doesn't have stiff, old, brittle legs like Deontay does. But Deontay is obviously going to have quite a bit of reach advantage over him. So whoever can establish a jab, that's going to be important. We just saw Wilder go 7 rounds with a dude that I don't think is as good as Jake Paul. I think Jake Paul legitimately is better than the guy that Deontay Wilder just fought. So I think it's a much more competitive fight. Not that it's necessarily a fight where Wilder's going to lose, but it's just a more competitive fight. I think if Wilder wins and Paul loses, it's not the end of anything, because people are going to have to praise Jake Paul for taking on a legitimate challenge. You think about the back and forth between the two of them, right? Both guys are very argumentative and big talkers. You put them on build-ups for that fight, it's going to be great back and forth between obviously Wilder, Bomb Squad, and the whole thing, and then of course Jake Paul. So I think marketing, it's going to really have a great buzz around it. Yeah, so I think realistically that is the fight to go. And tell me a fight where Wilder potentially can generate and make more money than he can in fighting Jake Paul. And for Jake Paul, if he beats a Deontay Wilder, I mean, literally, he's going to be so much more respected as a boxer and so much more obviously relevant in legitimate boxing events, not just kind of, putting on soap opera type of cards where no one really takes it too serious. So I, for one, think this is a no-brainer. I would love to see Wilder versus Jake Paul. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this potential matchup between these two potential fighters? If you don't like it, then what alternatives do you have? What do you think is better than a Jake Paul Deontay Wilder fight?